The studio lights blazed down on Ellen DeGeneres as she leaned forward in her chair, her smile tight and her eyes sharp. The audience clapped wildly, their cheers filling the bright, colorful set of The Ellen Show. Across from her sat Clint Eastwood, his weathered face set in a scowl, his hands gripping the armrests of his chair. The air crackled with tension, like a storm about to break. Ellen had just brought up a veterans charity event, and Clint's jaw tightened at the mention of his name. "So, Clint, tell us about this amazing charity you're headlining," Ellen said, her voice cheerful but edged with something harder. "You're the big star of the Veterans Honor Gala, right? Raising millions for our heroes?" Clint's eyes narrowed, his voice low and rough. "What are you talking about, Ellen? I never signed up to headline anything. You throwing my name around for your little show?" The audience gasped, their applause dying out. Ellen's smile faltered, but she recovered fast, tilting her head with a forced laugh. "Oh, come on, Clint. Your team told us you're leading this thing. Don't play coy with me. It's for a good cause." Clint leaned forward, his voice like gravel. "My team? You didn't talk to nobody I know. You're using my name to sell tickets, and I don't take kindly to that. You think you can just drag me into your spotlight?" Ellen's face flushed, her fingers tapping the desk. "Drag you? I'm giving you a platform, Clint. People love you. They want to see you support veterans. What's the problem? Too proud to share the stage?" the crowd murmured, sensing the fight brewing. Clint's hands clenched into fists, his voice rising. "Proud? I've been supporting veterans since before you had this fancy set. You don't get to twist my work into your publicity stunt. You lied, plain and simple." Ellen shot to her feet, her chair scraping back. "Lied? You're calling me a liar on my own show? That's rich, coming from a guy who plays tough in movies but can't handle a little charity talk. Maybe you're just scared of looking soft." Clint stood too, towering over the set, his eyes blazing. "Scared? Lady, I've faced down worse than you in my sleep. You're the one scared, hiding behind your jokes and your audience. You messed with my name, and I'm not here to play nice." The audience was silent now, every eye glued to the two stars. Ellen stepped closer, her voice sharp as a knife. "Play nice? You're the one throwing a tantrum because I mentioned a charity. What's your deal, Clint? Can't handle someone else getting credit for once?" Clint's laugh was bitter, cutting through the room. "Credit? You want credit for my work? I've spent years raising money for veterans, not flapping my gums on TV about it. You don't know the first thing about sacrifice." Ellen crossed her arms, her smile gone. "Sacrifice? Don't lecture me. I've done plenty for people, and I don't need a cowboy hat to prove it. You're just mad because I'm doing it better." The stage felt smaller, the air thick with their anger. Clint pointed a finger at her, his voice booming. "Better? You're a fraud, Ellen. You slap my name on your event without asking, then act like I'm the bad guy. I'm done with this circus." He turned, his boots heavy on the polished floor, heading for the exit. Ellen called after him, her voice sharp. "Walk away, Clint. That's what you're good at, isn't it? Running when things get real." Clint stopped, his back to her, his shoulders tense. The audience held its breath, waiting for his next move. He turned his head just enough to glare at her, his voice cold. "You want real, Ellen? Keep my name out of your mouth, or you'll see how real I can get." The crowd erupted in whispers as Clint strode toward the wings, his figure disappearing into the shadows of the set. Ellen stood frozen, her face a mix of fury and shock. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second of the chaos. Backstage, the crew scrambled, unsure what to do. Ellen's producer rushed to her side, whispering, but she waved him off, her eyes still on the spot where Clint had vanished. The fight wasn't over. Clint's anger burned too hot to fade, and Ellen's pride wouldn't let her back down. The stage was set for a showdown that would shake the studio to its core. Backstage, the air was thick with chaos. Crew members darted through the narrow halls, their headsets buzzing with urgent whispers. Clint Eastwood stormed past a rack of costumes, his boots echoing on the concrete floor. His face was a mask of fury, his fists still clenched from the fight on stage. He didn't care about the cameras or the audience anymore. Ellen had crossed a line, and he wasn't leaving until she owned it. Ellen burst through the backstage door, her heels clicking sharply. Her face was red, her eyes blazing with defiance. "You don't get to walk away like that, Clint," she shouted, her voice bouncing off the walls. "This is my show, and you don't get to humiliate me in front of my people." Clint spun around, his voice a low growl. "Humiliate you? You're the one who threw my name into your little game without a word to me. You think I'm some prop? For your ratings? I'm not your puppet, Ellen." A security guard stepped between them, his hands raised. "Folks, let's calm down," he said, but Ellen shoved past him, pointing at Clint. "Calm down? He's the one acting like a bully. You can't handle one question about a charity, Clint? What kind of man are you?" Clint's eyes flashed, and he stepped closer, towering over her. "The kind who doesn't lie to make himself look good. You didn't check with me or my people. You made it up, and now you're doubling down like a coward." The crew froze, their eyes wide. A young assistant clutched a clipboard, whispering to another, "This is bad." Ellen's producer, a wiry man with glasses, rushed in, his voice shaky. "Ellen, we need to get you back on set. The audience is waiting." But Ellen ignored him, her voice rising. "Coward? You're the one running from the truth. I was told you were in, Clint. You think I'd risk my show for nothing?" Clint laughed, sharp and cold. "Told by who? Some intern who didn't do their homework? You're sloppy, Ellen. You wanted a big name to make your event shine, and you didn't care who you hurt to get it." Ellen's hands shook, but her voice was steady, cutting. "Hurt? You're untouchable, Clint. A legend, right? You love playing the lone hero, but you're just a grumpy old man who can't share." The spotlight. The words hit hard, and Clint's jaw tightened. He took a step forward, his voice low and dangerous. "You don't know me. I've fought for veterans my whole life, not for applause, but because it's right. You? You chase claps like a kid, chasing candy." The hallway seemed to shrink, the tension choking the air. The security guard tried again, his voice firm. "Enough. You both need to step back." But Ellen waved him off, her eyes locked on Clint. "You're so righteous, aren't you? Maybe I made a mistake, but you didn't have to tear me down. On live TV, you wanted this fight." Clint's voice softened, but it was no less fierce. "You're right, I didn't have to. But you pushed me, Ellen. You used my name, my work, and you didn't think twice. That's not a mistake. That's arrogance." For a moment, Ellen was silent, her face pale. The crew watched, barely breathing. Then she spoke, her voice quieter, but sharp. "Arrogance? Look in the mirror, Clint. You think you're above everyone. I was trying to do something good." Clint shook his head, his anger giving way to something heavier. "Good? Then own your mess. Go out there, tell your audience you got it wrong. Don't hide behind your charm." Ellen flinched, but before she could answer, the producer grabbed her arm. "Ellen, we're live in 2 minutes. We can't keep stalling." She pulled away, her eyes still on Clint. "You want an apology? Fine, but you don't get to lecture me about honor." Clint stepped back, his voice calm but firm. "I don't need your apology. I need you to do right." He turned, heading for the exit, but stopped at the door. The crew parted as he faced Ellen one last time. "I'm going back out there. Not for you, but for them." He nodded toward the audience beyond the walls. "You coming, or you staying here with your pride?" Ellen stared, her breath uneven. The weight of his words hung heavy. She nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm coming." Minutes later, they stood on the brightly lit stage, the audience buzzing with anticipation. Ellen took the mic, her hands steady now. "Folks, I owe you the truth. I got something wrong about Clint's charity work. I didn't check my facts, and that's on me." Her voice wavered, but she pressed on. "He's a man who stands by his word, and I respect that." Clint stood beside her, his face unreadable. The crowd was silent, then erupted in applause. He raised a hand, his voice steady. "This ain't about me. It's about the veterans. They deserve the truth. And they deserve our best." He looked at Ellen, his eyes softer. "We're good." The audience roared, their cheers shaking the studio. Ellen smiled, a real one this time, and Clint nodded, his anger gone. They'd clashed, burned bright with fury, but they'd come through. The truth won, and that was enough.